An Archon, in the Gnosticism of late antiquity, was any of several servants of the Demiurge, the creator god, that stood between the human race and a transcendent god that could only be reached through Gnosis. In this context they have the role of the angels and demons of the Old Testament. They give the name to the sect called Archotics. They were thus called from the Greek word rho chi omicron nu tau epsilon sigma, principalities, or rulers, by reason that they held the world to have been created and ruled by malevolent archons. The term was taken from the ancient Greek position of office archon, hebdomad. A characteristic feature of the Gnostic concept of the universe is the role played in almost all Gnostic systems by the seven world-creating archons, known as the hebdomad. These seven are in most systems semi-hostile powers, and are reckoned as the last and lowest emanations of the Godhead. Below them, and frequently considered as derived from them, comes the world of the actually devilish powers. There are indeed certain exceptions. Basilides taught the existence of a great archon called Abraxas who presided over 365 archons. The ancient astronomy taught that above the seven planetary spheres was an eighth, the sphere of the fixed stars. In the eighth sphere, these Gnostics taught, dwelt the mother to whom all these archons owed their origin, Sophia Abarbalo. In the language of these sects the word hebdomad not only denotes the seven archons, but is also a name of place, denoting the heavenly regions over which the seven archons presided, while adod denotes the super-celestial regions which lay above the control. The Ophites accepted the existence of these seven archons, Jaldabaoth, called also Saklas and Samael Satin. Feminine name. Pronoia Sambathas, we, prophets, Moses, Joshua, Amos, Habakkuk. From Hebrew Yaldabaoth, child of chaos, the outermost who created the six others, and therefore the chief ruler and demiurge par excellence. Called the lion-faced, Leontoides, Yao Jupiter. Feminine name. Lordship. Prophets, Samuel, Nathan, Jonah, Micah. Perhaps from Yahoo, Yahweh, but possibly also from the magic cry Yao in the mysteries. Sabaoth Mars. Feminine name. Deity. Prophets, Elijah, Joel, Zechariah. The Old Testament phrase Yahweh Sabaoth or Jehovah of armies was thought a proper name, hence Jupiter's Sabbath, Astaphanos, or Astaphios Venus. Feminine name. Sophia. Prophets, Esdras, Zephaniah. Astrophios is beyond doubt the planet Venus, as there are Gnostic gems with a female figure and the legend Astaphe, which name is also used in magic spells as the name of a goddess. Adonios the sun. Feminine name. Kingship. Prophets, Isaiah, Ezekiel, Jeremiah, Daniel. For the Hebrew term for the Lord, used of God, Adonis of the Syrians representing the winter sun in the cosmic tragedy of Tammuz. In the Mandean system Adonios represents the sun. Elios, or Ilios, or sometimes Eileen Mercury. Feminine name. Jealousy. Prophets, Tobias, Haggai. From Elohim, God. Horios the moon. Feminine name. Wealth. Prophets, Messiah, Nahum. From Jero, or Height, or Horus. In the Hellenized form of Gnosticism either or some of these names are replaced by personified vices. Authordia, or audacity, is the obvious description of Yaldabaoth, the presumptuous demiurge, who is lion-faced is the archon Authordia. Of the archons Kakia, Zealous, Thonos, Uranes, Epithymia, the last obviously represents Venus. The number 7 is obtained by placing a pro-archon, a chief Archon at the head. That these names are only a disguise from the Sancta Hebdomas is clear, for Sophia, the mother of them, retains the name of a Dode Octonosho. Occasionally one meets with the Archon Isoldios, which is evidently the El Shaddai of the Bible, and he is described as the Archon number 4. In the system of the Gnostics mentioned by Epiphanius we find, as the 7 Archons, Iao, Saklas, Seth, David, Eloian, Elanios, Yaldabaoth. The last book of the Pistis Sophia contains the myth of the capture of the rebellious Archons, whose leaders here appear as 5 in number: Paraplex, Hecate, Ariauth, Typhon, Ictanabas, Mandians. Among the Mandians, we find a different and perhaps more primitive conception of the 7, according to which they, together with the mother Namrus and the father, belong entirely to the world of darkness. They and the family are looked upon as captives of the God of Light, who pardons them, sets them on chariots of light, and appoints them as rulers of the world. Manichaeans. The Manichaeans readily adopted the Gnostic usage, and their Archons are invariably evil beings. It is related how the helper of the primal man, the spirit of life, captured the evil Archons, and fastened them to the firmament, or according to another account, flayed them, and formed the firmament from the skin, and this conception is closely related to the other, though in this tradition the number of the Archons is lost. Origins. Planet Ionius tells us, the Holy Hebdomad is the 7 stars which they call planets. It is safe, therefore, to take the above 7 Gnostic names as designating the 7 planetary divinities, the Sun, Moon and 5 planets. In the Mandean system the 7 are introduced with the Babylonian names of the planets. The connection of the 7 with the planets is also clearly established by the expositions of Celsus and Origen, and similarly by the above-cited passage in the Pistis Sophia, where the Archons, who are here mentioned as 5, are identified with the 5 planets. In this, as in several other systems, the traces of the planetary 7 have been obscured, but hardly in any have they become totally effaced. What tended most to obliterate the sevenfold distinction was the identification of the God of the Jews, the lawgiver, with Yaldabaoth and his designation as world creator, whereas formerly the 7 planets together ruled the world. This confusion, however, was suggested by the very fact that at least 5 of the 7 Archons bore Old Testament names for God: El Shaddai, Adonai, Elohim, Jehovah, Sabaoth. Wilhelm Mans has also pointed out that Gnostic eschatology, consisting in the soul's struggle with hostile Archons in its attempt to reach the pleroma, is a close parallel of the soul's ascent, in Babylonian astrology, through the realms of the 7 planets to Anu. The late Babylonian religion can definitely be indicated as the home of these ideas. Zoroastrianism. The Bundarshan is able to inform us that in the primeval strife of Satan against the light world, 7 hostile powers were captured and set as constellations in the heavens, where they are guarded by good star powers and prevented from doing harm. 5 of the evil powers of the planets, while here the Sun and Moon are of course not reckoned among the evil powers, for the obvious reason that in the Persian official religion they invariably appear as good divinities. It must be also noted that the Mithras mysteries, so closely connected with the Persian religion, are acquainted with this doctrine of the ascent of the soul through the planetary spheres. Usage. Judaism and Christianity. The N.T. several times mentions the prince of the devils, or of the world, or of the power of the air, but never uses the word absolutely in any cognate sense. In Leviticus, Alpha Rho Chi Omega Nu represents, or rather translates, Malek. The true biblical source of the usage, however, is Daniel chapter 10 verses 13 to 21, where the Archon is the patron angel of a nation, Persia, Greece, or Israel. Israel, a name being given in the last case only. The Book of Enoch names 20 Archons of the 200 Watcher angels who sinned with the daughters of men, as appears from one of the Greek fragments. The title is not indeed used absolutely, except perhaps once, where the Ethiopic has no corresponding words, but it has evidently almost become a true name, and may account for St. Jude's peculiar use of rogue iota. Christians soon followed the Jewish precedent. In the 2nd century the term appears in several writers alien to Gnosticism. The Epistle to Dionysius speaks of God sending to men a minister or angel or archon, etc. Justin understands the command in Psalms 24:7-9 to open the heavenly gates as addressed to the archons appointed by God in the heavens. The first spurious set of Ignatian epistles enumerates the heavenly beings and the glory of the angels and the archons visible and invisible, and again, the heavenly beings and the angelic collocations and the archotic constitutions, things both visible and invisible, the meaning being lost by the time of the interpolator, who in one case drops the word out, and in the other gives it a political sense. The Clementine homilies adopt and extend the N.T. usage, and further call the two good and evil powers, which control the destiny of each man, rulers, though more commonly, leaders. Greek theology. The mythology of ancient Greece knew gods, demons, and heroes. Theta epsilon omicron rho chi omicron nu tau epsilon sigma appear in the subsequent philosophy of Plato. However, Philo never alludes to archons. In a single passage, rho chi omicron nu tau epsilon sigma is merely correlative to pi eta kappa omicron iota. Presently the syncretism of the later Greek philosophy found room for archons, which appear in Neoplatonism and claim Plato's unwritten tradition. They are inserted by the author of the book De Mysteriis Egyptiarum, and even it would seem by his question Porphyry, below gods, demons, angels, and archangels, and above heroes and departed souls, in the scale of invisible beings whose presence may become manifest. It may be only an accidental coincidence that about the end of the 2nd century, Archon was one of the names given by the Platonist Harpocration to the second god of Numenus, for all the series of the ruling gods are collected into the intellectual fabrication as into a summit, and subsist about it, and as all the fountains are the progeny of the intelligible Father, and are filled from him with intelligible union. Thus likewise, all the orders of the principles are rulers, who are suspended according to nature from the Demiurgus, and participate from thence of an intellectual life.